Hey everybody, welcome to Rust Belt Startup. I'm your host, Ryan Miller, and if you're new here, Rust Belt Startup is a podcast full of long-form conversations with entrepreneurs, educators, artists, people that are living unconventional lives in unconventional locations. And so today on the pod, this is actually an episode that was recorded live in front of an audience. The event was a partnership between MVCC's thINCubator and the Rising Tide Society of Utica. So we called this event From Beans to Brew, and it was a fireside chat with the founder of Utica Coffee Roasting, Frank Elias. So in this conversation, we really wanted it to be a conversation, and we encouraged audience members to chime in with questions. And so at the end of this, there is a Q&A, and there's some folks that chime in the middle when we take some breaks for questions. But it's a great conversation that really focuses on the origin story of Utica Coffee Roasting Company. If you haven't heard of them, you're living under a rock in this town. And it's a conversation that focuses on not only the origin story of the company, but how they've experienced growth. We spent a lot of time talking about building a culture and cultivating talent within your network and within your region instead of relying on folks from outside of the area. How do you create a culture where people want to be there and give them opportunities for growth? So we spend a lot of time on people, and we also talk about the growth as it comes to expanding and doing a lot of business online. So a big part of Utica Coffee is actually their online business. So using partners like Shopify and Amazon, we get into that growth strategy in this conversation as well. Here's the thing I didn't know. I did not appreciate how much money Amazon takes off the top when you're a real Amazon seller. So we do get into that as well. So hope you find this conversation interesting. And thanks to everyone that came out to the event. Thanks to Rising Tide Society of Utica. We'll do it again. But enjoy this conversation with Frank Elias of Utica Coffee Roasting. Thank you, guys. I'm scared because I haven't done this in a while. We haven't done one of these in a long. We used to do these all the time. So thanks to Rising Tides for bringing this up and doing it again. Here's the rules for tonight. This is designed to be like an interview, a fireside chat, if you get it right. This is what's crazy about the fireside chat. This has been running since 9 o'clock this morning. And it's a 12-hour fire in 4K on YouTube. So who uploaded that thing? But it's amazing. So this is designed to be an interview with Frank to give you guys a sense of kind of the origin story, how he grew the company. I've got some questions that are on my mind and will certainly guide the conversation. But at any point, that's why we have mics here. Just so it's for you guys. You want to know something? Just stop me. Stop me in the middle of my sentence, whatever, and let's have a conversation. We'll go probably 45 minutes or so, and we'll just kind of see where it goes. But Frank has been gracious enough to donate his time tonight, and I hope you guys are all big fans of Utica Coffee. I will just say, if you don't know, does anyone not know what thINCubator is or what they do? I'm being bold here and thinking I've met most people in the room tonight, so thank you for being here, and I hope this is the first of a lot of these that we can do moving forward now that we're all getting together again. So that's who has the mics right now? Okay. So as long as we know where they're at, if you want a mic, just grab it or raise your hand. We'll get this started. I spent a couple hours. I've known Frank for a long time. Mm-hmm. I knew Frank when you were on the radio.
Yes. Probably before then, but we probably don't remember it.
We probably don't. Yeah, that was. It was a while. So hey, turn your mic this way. It's like the old school. Give it a little.
Where you want me?
You speak there.
All right. All right. And don't touch it.
Now, well, you can. I mean, you're the radio guy. But see, it's not.
I know to stay away from it, but sometimes I don't.
But if you're in radio, you used to go this way. But this is budget, so I have to do it on the side.
I see I got you.
See.
I know where we're at now.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Let's start with. We were talking earlier where I think growing up here, you were one of the first people that turned the name Utica from a business standpoint and into a lifestyle brand, kind of turning it from what some would call pejorative in some instance. And you're like, no, I'm going to name my business Utica Coffee. So
absolutely.
Let's start with, why did you decide? Let's just start there.
Okay. Understand, I'm a lifelong resident of the Utica area. I've always thought highly of the place that I've lived, that we live. And I've always thought that we should be proud of who we are and where we are. When I started the idea of this business, I was working at Mohawk Valley Community College at the time. And one of my good friends there, Frank Prisbison, who is now a professor emeritus at MVCC, he was working with Genesis at the time. And I said, Frank, I got all these names. What do you think? And he says, well, we've done studies at Genesis, and the Utica brand, the Utica name is very strong. And the people from outside this area think highly of the Utica name. And for the people that come back, that name resonates. That name is a connection to them. And as a result of that conversation with Frank and many other conversations with Frank, we decided on really promoting Utica and developing our brand of coffee, synonymous with the Utica name, the vibe, the feel, and all the good things that should be shared about our hometown.
When we were hanging out on Monday,
Yep.
before you named it Utica Coffee, you told me a story about a first coffee roaster and a motorcycle.
Yes.
And I would
Yep.
like you to, I think this will set the stage for new entrepreneurs. If you would tell us that story.
I sure will. I'm going to take us back to about 2002, and that's the year that we purchased our building down here on Genesee Street. And for lack of a better term, I'm going to call it Main Street. And at that point in time, like you said, the name Utica wasn't necessarily
For everybody, and not everyone loved it.
right.
Right.
So nobody was investing in your downtown. It was a ghost town, and we often joked you could throw a bowling ball down the street and nobody was there, and that could be debated. So I bought this building, and I was looking to invest. I didn't really know what to invest in. All I knew, though, was every time I had to get a cup of coffee or a water or anything, I'd have to leave the city. So I studied a whole bunch of different business ideas and what fits with me, what can I do, what makes sense here. And it was a well thought out process, really. And I stumbled upon a growing industry, and it was the specialty coffee industry. And at that point in time, it was growing at 17% annually. And I thought, wow, that's pretty gosh darn good. How much longer could this keep up, right? So I recognized retail probably wouldn't work in this downtown area right now. And the way that building was over there at the time, the windows weren't in front. It was all bricked off. And if you looked at my row of buildings there, it was my building, which is pretty much vacant. Next door was vacant. Next door to that was a junkyard guy. I call him Junkyard Joe, and he had a really mean German Shepherd. After that, it was vacant. Then we had a strip joint. Then it was vacant. And then we had municipal housing. And that's the way that street was. So I recognized retail wasn't going to work down there at that point in time, but I do have a degree in manufacturing. I got a background in manufacturing, and I thought coffee roasting, specialty coffee, would work. And so I did research, looked at where I could find a roaster, hooked up with this guy in Wisconsin who would become a very good friend at that point in time. And he had a coffee roaster used, and I said, I don't know, and he says, I'll sell it to you, and if it doesn't work, I'll buy it back for exactly what I sold it to you for. And at that point in time, I had all this money saved up for a motorcycle, and I was ready to go with something, and I figured, how could I go wrong? So I did. I decided to invest in the coffee roaster instead of the motorcycle.
Do you mind me asking how much that first coffee roaster cost you?
$15,500. Yep. And I got $500 off because there was a dent in it.
It was in Wisconsin? Did you have to go get it in Wisconsin?
It was in Wisconsin. No, he sent it here. And Victor, We worked with him through that. He introduced us to our broker at the time. We're, 17 years later, we're with the same coffee broker. I often say that he is our secret weapon because he's got a degree from Harvard. He's been in the coffee industry since 1975. He's been through the ups and downs, and he is extremely knowledgeable about specialty coffee. Our supply is very strong. Our relationships are really worldwide at this point, networks worldwide, and where we get our coffee. So, the decision to forego the motorcycle at that point in time and buy the coffee roaster was a good one. And I didn't tell you this side of the story,
right.
But I did buy a motorcycle. I did. I bought a motorcycle. And I sold it because I bought our first delivery van with it. And that's true.
That's awesome.
And
that's awesome.
I'm done with motorcycles at this point.
That's awesome. I guess to follow up with that, first of all, I do want to note that you weren't a person that just goes, damn, I love coffee, I can make this into a business, right? Like so many people that I meet are like, I like baseball cards, therefore I'm going to run a successful. You really started with research, and I think that's really important.
Absolutely.
Did you know how to roast coffee at scale before you decided I was going to be a coffee roaster? You were going to be a coffee roaster.
Good question. I asked Victor that when I was buying the machine, and he said, this is the coffee roaster that's the right size, that it's a shop roaster, but it can also produce enough to feed your family. So, that question was asked sort of, and that's how it was answered. It's small enough for a shop roaster, but also large enough to produce the volume where you can feed a family.
Was that the red roaster?
That's the red roaster.
I remember
that's
that.
the red roaster. Yep. We still have it to this day.
Awesome.
Yep.
But you didn't answer my question where I said, did you know how to roast coffee? Because it's more complicated than dump the beans in, plug it in, and hope for the best, right?
I tell you, those are really the three real big components of it. And for those of you in this audience, I would hope that every one of you would recognize that if you go into one of our cafes, or if you're dealing with any one of our people, either online or anywhere, the quality of our people should really be a big factor in what we do. And we're proud of our people. We're very proud of our quality, and very proud of our customer service.
That's a perfect segue, so to give you guys some background, it had been a year since we had hung out. It was almost exact.
Right.
Frank's the only person that contacts me on Facebook Messenger. And so I was like, how did you know it's been a year? He's like, look at the last timestamp. And it was about a year ago.
Yeah.
So I went down to the new facility again on Monday, and boy, had it grown. And I think one of the things that a lot of folks locally may not understand is I think a lot of people might think of Utica Coffee as like it's the cafes, but this is a big operation, man. Mm-hmm. And I was spending time there on Monday with him, and one of the things that jumped out to me was how much conversation and how, I don't know, like you just seemed like you really genuinely care about every individual that worked there, and that the folks that I met genuinely loved what they were doing. And so I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about, like, how do you find or build a team and culture? Because I think you've worked really hard. I can see it when I'm over there.
You can feel it.
Yeah, you can totally feel it.
How do we do it? I don't know, but it's so important that you really pay it very, very close attention. You saw it in that I talk to every person that works with us every day. I have a conversation with them. I walk through, I see our operations. So that it's relationships, and it's probably also communicating our mission, vision, purpose with these folks so they feel comfortable enough to live and breathe what that mission, vision, purpose is. So if it going into our cafe, how we treat the customers, I honestly usually will not tell people that work for us, you should do this or you shouldn't do that. It's almost their decision to do whatever they do. Then you can evaluate how they react to that. But allowing them to make decisions I think it furthers our mission, vision, purpose, and culture. Doing the right thing. I mean, how many times have I said to someone, what would Jesus do, right? And we've probably all said that. But, hey, well, okay, based upon that, what would you do? And it's usually, it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And you just build that culture, and at times it doesn't work. I mean, I can't tell you it's 100% success. If it's 51% success, I'm happy. But you see it, and hopefully you feel it when you walk into our place, that what we do on a daily basis really comes through in our employees and how they treat people.
I want to throw two things out at you that I had notes from our meeting that I think will serve as maybe a jump-off point for conversation. But two things that struck me when we were talking. I had wrote down these. It's three things. You don't hire for a role, right? Right. The concepts of tiers and teams as you grow. So we'll take these one at a time.
Absolutely.
And then you said to me, sometimes I hear from business owners who are like, it's hard to find good people, and you're like, no. There's good people everywhere, but they might not be a good fit.
Correct.
And can you talk about, first of all, like good people versus good fit, building a team, and then why you don't hire for a role?
First thing I can say is passion, good decision making. You might have to refresh me on these three questions from now on.
So there's good people, but they might not be a good fit. Let's start there.
Yeah, and I mean, we've all gone through COVID. We've all experienced, hey, there's no people. And the reality of it, all that is there was a big population shift. Those people that were, baby boomers, X generation, right? They retired out, and really they really did leave a vacuum of leadership for the next generation coming up. But that doesn't mean these folks are not really, really good people. It just means we've got to work with them, give them training, guidance, and I can think of people that we've hired recently. They may not have, if you look at a resume, they might not have all the bells and whistles, but what they should have is a willingness to work with others, collaborative, and there's also a piece of this that's like really good decision making, and you can find those people, and once you do, you cultivate them, you give them the right training, have them work with people that are part of teams. That's another big. Two things of that. You mentioned tiers, and that's what we've really realized, that especially when we're saying, hey, come on to work for us, $15 an hour. In today's day and age, that's not enough, right? But what you've got to show someone is that there is a progressive career path. So you know these skills, $15 to $17 an hour, right? Know these skills, $17 to $20 and beyond. So we've realized that the saying, hey, you're going to come in and this is your job title and this is how much we're going to pay, there needs to be a path of progression.
That they can see, right?
That they can see. And then that other people can show them within the organization that it's working for them.
Yeah.
What was the other piece?
Well, it was that tiers and teams, but I think it's
teams.
It dovetails.
The other one was teams.
Yeah, teams.
And that's another one. And again, generational differences. There are certain generations that feel much more comfortable with titles and roles, and younger generations. Inclusivity, we're all equal, we're all right. And when you feel like that, you are probably less apt to want to be directive to someone. Hey, go do this. And that, especially now, is something that, okay, It's real. So how do you work? You work as teams. And if you're each team, you have team members with goals, you kind of help one another along rather than direct one another along. And that's another way of growing people, younger people, these tiers. And these are not all answers that are going to work for everybody, but we're trying it. We're trying to make it work, and in our case, it is working for us.
I think you answered the last part of it, which was you don't really hire for a role. It's not like I'm going to hire for a barista. There's a track,
Right, and that's the other thing. The old days of, hey, what's my job description and what am I going to do? And yes, that's good, but understand this. We're a growing organization. We're changing. We're responding to the needs of our customers and of a very rapidly changing world. And if someone comes in and thinks I'm going to be this, well, you better be ready to move because that job is probably not going to be there in 6 months. So come in, contribute, learn, and be ready. And really, we need you to move because if we need good people, we all need good people. They need to be promotable, and if they're not promotable, they stay in a spot and they hold back somebody else from coming in. Yeah. So the idea of hiring for a role, in today's world, the New York State guidelines, you got to create this. But in the reality of it, the way business is changing so rapidly, you better be ready to move and adapt, overcome, and somehow find a way to contribute.
Could we bring it back to marketing for a second? I know that's always on a lot of people's minds. There's a point where, and again, I'm just using my experience in working with a lot of folks that are just starting out. And when we start to talk about branding and marketing, there's a lot that is reliant on we're gonna do Facebook and the gram, and it's really going to be word of mouth. And what I'm hearing you say at the very beginning is like, listen, we made investments, we put money behind developing a brand, but then also deploying that brand.
Right.
And that can be, I think, for a lot of folks, that idea of a marketing budget is one of the last things they think about, and one of the first things to get cut. But you've really leaned into that. Can you talk about at what point you stepped back and said, listen, we need to bring you're not going to write the logo on every bag. You got to bring someone in. And how did you decide that it was time and continue to make large investments in marketing? That's a big part of what you do. And I'm going to say marketing. I'm not just saying social, but where I'm going with this is I want to get into Amazon.
Okay.
All
right.
So as it kind of leads us to there.
Okay.
As a long ass question.
And I'm not sure if I fully understand.
Okay. So when did you sat down with Joe and Bernie to come up with the kind of the tag and logo. But there's a point where you're like, listen, I'm roasting coffee. I need to spend money to acquire customers. And that can be painful for people to do. But you to me, that's also, I'm hearing you say that's the differentiator between us and other brands of coffee. Like, we're building a brand. Right. Building a brand costs money. How do you institutionalize that as part of your decision-making process?
Okay. Here's how I'll answer it. And I'll refer to you guys on this stuff too. All right. Let's say you're a business and you need to invest in marketing, right? And we're in your shoes now because we knew we had to invest in marketing. So you come up with a thought process of what you need, you identify it, right? And then you reach out to local resources. Local resources come to you and say, yeah, we can do this for you. We can do your web page. We can do this, that, right? Great. And here's your bill. Boom. And this is our quote to do this. That then allows you to make a decision, okay? Let's say it's a $50,000 to do all your website, this, that, and the other thing over a year, and that is a lot. Part of our mission is to hire local, give people opportunities. Think back 20 years when I started this business, job opportunities were not like they are today. People were leaving this area. And I wanted to start this business as a for-profit business with its intent to revitalize this region responsibly and hire people locally and give them opportunities so they didn't have to leave. So now I'm getting a quote, and it says here's $50,000 for a marketing budget for over this year. I look at that and say, I can hire a person for $50,000, and then I got them for year 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're committed, and I'm fulfilling my mission. So that is the thought process that goes into that. And even to this day, very rarely will we hire out for these services. We'll hire from within, we'll build people from within, and I'll even take people with no experience at all and teach them from the bottom up. As long as they've got the desire, the right attitude, good decision-making skills, good people skills, and that's ideal. Now, okay, answered that, but here's something that anybody that's going to work through Amazon really needs to know, and that is, in order to properly sell on an Amazon platform, you have to make sure you've got your trademarks in place. Otherwise, you're going to be dealing with third-party resellers. And you don't want to do that because they'll undercut you, they'll destroy your brand. So you have to protect your brand with a trademark. And even with that, I'm going to tell you what, and who was the LegalZoom guy here that I was talking to tonight, right? Even with that, right? Even with that, go out to a local lawyer and have them work with you on doing trademarks. It's going to be very, very expensive. What we've learned, we can't afford that. So we've gone to LegalZoom and we work with LegalZoom. I think it's like $250 a year plus a certain amount to do a trademark, and they give you a lawyer consultant, and they work with you through the process. In turn, you learn the process, you become the expert, you bring those services in-house, you build your own people. So it's a continual process of how do you bring this in-house when you need it. Now, there are many circumstances where we do look outside for consultants. And I'll tell you, and Dr. Van Wagner, plug for MVCC, because your manufacturing partnership program has been instrumental in helping us through our manufacturing improvement programs. And this is when we bring in consultants. When I know I've got a process that can be fixed with our own people, but sometimes you can't do it yourself. You need to bring the expert in from the outside, and that's when you bring in the expert, they do consulting, they educate your people, and then they move on. The education piece is extremely important for us. Even with search engine optimization, we will not hire out for that. We will find a way of training our own people so that they can do it. We can do it ourselves. We're going to do this over and over and over again. We're going to build a business. We've got to educate our own people.
Let's talk about Amazon a little bit more.
Go.
Because I don't think a lot of folks understand that's a big part of your business.
Yep.
And
biggest customer we've got.
Yeah. So why did you decide to, I guess, put more of your resources towards that? And can you talk a little bit about margins? Because that's a hard. Everyone's like, "Oh, just put it on Amazon," but it's as you've discovered, this is not that easy.
This is interesting because one of our employees somehow put our products on Amazon. I don't even think he knew what he was doing. But then all of a sudden we got an order one day and we're like, what is this? How do we do this? right? Seriously. What is this? How do we do this? And he figured it out. And we just built it from there. But when you follow the trends of sales, take a step back. Organizational structure, extremely important. And in fact, it's so easy to make business decisions if you can map it out. Okay, going back to our math classes, right? If you can draw out whatever the problem is, it's so much easier to figure it out. And an organizational chart It's pretty similar. So making sure that within the organization, the right people are responsible for the certain responsibilities is extremely important. So once you recognize sales and you're going to grow sales in these certain directions, Amazon online, Shopify online, that's the responsibility of your online sales team. Grocery convenience, it's responsibility of your wholesale team. Your retail cafes, Utica, Rome, wherever else we might look, that's retail. Production operations, that's your job. You know, of the organization right now, we employ 47 people as of this past Monday. There are only 5 people that report to me, and everybody else reports to them. I don't go crazy. I don't stress out. And all the people that work directly with me, they're empowered to make decisions because they know what our mission, vision, goals, and purposes are. And if they do make mistakes, great. You learned. We invested that much in your education.
Yeah. So let's keep going on Amazon a little bit. So you accidentally get on Amazon.
Yep.
Okay. And walk me, so there's a big delta between we accidentally get on Amazon and now Amazon is the biggest part of our business.
That's right.
Okay. And so
that's right.
There's a process there, and what I learned from you too is how much Amazon eats of your business.
Absolutely.
Can you give us a little bit of the bad news on that?
Okay. And you guys should all know this. You guys should all know this. If they'll take 50% of anything you sell. So 50, half of. They will take half of. And that doesn't include
out when he sold
that doesn't include what you might want to spend in advertising, AdWords, and your inventory costs, because you have to manage your inventory costs, your holding costs, because they'll charge you for it. So 50% of one half of everything you sell, they will take. And that's the way it is. K-Cups. Go ahead.
Just a quick question.
Go ahead.
It's Amazon Marketplace, right? Not Amazon Merch, not when it's like you're on Amazon. You are like the seller, right?
Amazon.com. We are.
You are on Amazon, not
Yep.
like there. Because they have merch, which is like POD. So just make
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
Which of the
Amazon.com. Wake the hell up, K-Cups. You'll see it. And Utica Coffee. And here, this is how important trademark is. Wake the hell up has been on Amazon for years because we've had the trademark. Utica Coffee has only been on Amazon maybe 2 years, because only 2 years ago we got the formal trademark, and only then would Amazon accept Utica Coffee to have our own web page and not be interfered with by third-party sellers. So one half of what so you sell something for $15, they're taking $7.50. Easy, off the top. So you got to be ready for that.
Let's just let that sink in for a minute. Okay? So very, very, very hard to do that. But yet, so if in hearing all of that, and you're like, yeah, but you got to sell on Amazon. So
you got to have great margins.
You got to have great margins. That's what I'm getting at, right? So like, would you be comfortable sharing how many pounds of coffee are you shipping out every day?
I don't know.
All right. I did not expect that answer.
I'm going to...
How many pounds are you roasting every day? Let's start there.
Up to 2,000 pounds a day.
That's a lot of coffee.
Up to 2,000 pounds a day.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is a big operation.
Well, and here, now take a step back. Okay. Amazon, we recognized what was selling on Amazon was Wake the Hell Up and K-Cups, right? So when we saw that, we bought a K-Cup machine. And Barry Sinnott, who works with the Bank of Utica here, at the time, he had operations in China. And I said to Barry, I was like, Barry, I want to buy a K-Cup machine. He says, all right, go on Alibaba.com, identify what machine you want, and then I'll go visit the manufacturer. We'll vet it out, and we'll go from there. And that's exactly what we did.
That's awesome.
So I went to Alibaba.com. Barry visited the sites in China. It was fantastic. The resources that we have here locally really do extend globally. So we bought the machine, brought it in-house, set it up, started producing K-Cups right here, right down the street. And then sales continued to grow and grow and grow. And we realized we cannot keep up with this. The manufacturing piece is not where we need to focus our time, money, and effort. Where we need to focus our time, money, and effort is in marketing, packaging development, and sales. And so we ended up selling that machine and working with a co-packer, New York State, because we want to stay within New York State. We want to do business in New York State and promote more business within New York State. So we found a co-packer down toward New York. They are our co-packer to this day. They focus on the manufacturing. They're really, really good at it. We buy the coffee, we have it shipped to them, they roast it to our specifications. A lot of the stuff is flavoring, we send the flavoring down, and we work with them. They work on the manufacturing, we work on sales, marketing, brand development, and more SKUs. And that's almost part of the natural outcome of more sales. Simply put more SKUs on.
What's a
on
SKU
Amazon.
for people that don't know what a SKU is?
Barcode, more or less, right? It's a new product. It's a unique product. Yeah.
I want to make sure that people have plenty of time for questions. Anyone have anything they want to pick Frank's brain about?
If I could
Yeah.
interject.
Yeah.
Frank, I apologize if this is a hard question after a wonderful commercial for MVCC, but it's on my mind.
Okay, go for it.
If, thinking of the organization development over the years, I'm guessing it wasn't a straight, beautiful line, such that as you hit these different walls
Right.
before you went to the next level, was there ever a time where the barrier you hit was between your ears and you had to get out of your own way?
Probably.
What was that story?
Probably. I recognize I'm probably not an expert at anything, honestly. What I am good at, though, Randy, is starting something, getting into it, and understanding it a little bit, coffee roasting, and then recognizing we need to find somebody else to take this over because they can do it better than me, and I can move on to something else. And it almost to, I can say roasting, I can say packaging, I can say sales, I can say manufacturing. I can look at the 47 people I work with, and I can say that every one of them can do the job they're doing better than I can. So, as an entrepreneur, I'm quick to get in, right? I was the one that was setting up the roaster. I'm the one that's roasting the first batches, but then recognizing I got to get out of my own way if I'm going to continue to grow this.
Ryan, you used the phrase, I think it was you, Ryan, where too many entrepreneurs get caught in spending too much time in the business,
Not on,
working
yeah.
on the business.
Yeah.
I think it's a powerful phrase.
Yeah. I stole that from someone. I don't know who, but I stole it from someone.
I kind of agree with that. I recently read a book called Who Not How, and it speaks precisely to that, to understanding that you can't do it all, and finding the person that can do it for you, giving them the autonomy to do it, and that allows you to free up some time to do what you want to do and take your business where you want to take it.
Right.
It makes perfect sense.
Here, I've got ADD too, so it's really hard for me to focus on one thing for a long time. So I got to get it right, and I got to turn it over quick, I do, and I recognize that, and I got a planner. I write everything down, because if I don't, I'm on to something else really quick, and I'm not going to remember what I was doing 10 minutes ago.
I also have ADD. My husband has ADHD, and our 8-year-old has ADHD. But I think that I'm learning a lot of entrepreneurs do, and that's what makes us entrepreneurs, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. You have to have a second brain, and that's a notebook or some sort of software where we keep everything organized. Otherwise,
Other questions? CJ's got it, yeah.
You mentioned, the world is changing, and we're talking about Amazon, but I've got a question about the other Amazon. In terms of commodities, coffee
Right.
is not something we grow locally. It's not like feed corn.
Right.
How do you plan in advance for disruptions in the commodity? Bad harvest season, boat getting stuck sideways in the Panama Canal,
Right.
pandemic, climate change. Like, there's a lot of things
That's a
that
great
could go
question.
wrong
Yeah.
at the initial step of purchasing the coffee before you even get to roast it. So how do you
Right.
mitigate
I-
that risk to yourself and your business?
Remember I said secret weapon? The broker. Been working with John for 17, 18 years now. A wealth of knowledge in the industry. For the most part, the world coffee market is very connected. We buy futures, and so we look out as pretty much as far as I can go, and I'll look at what that commodity's doing, and I'll put good till canceled orders in on certain commodity lots that right now are. I'm looking at 2024 right now, and we're buying lots in 2024 right now. Right now, the price of coffee has come down pretty significantly over the past 3-4 weeks. I would anticipate that it will continue to go down just a little bit more. The U.S. dollar is very much a factor in all of this. The U.S. dollar is a little bit strong or weaker than it was last time coffee commodity prices were so low. So it may not go. The price of coffee may not go down as low as they had been over the past 3, 4, 5 years at times. So you really have to be a student of the commodity markets. Also be very much aware of geopolitical stuff that might be going on, how it might impact you. I say that the coffee market is a global market, and the companies that we buy from, right now, it's the Neumann Group. It's a German company with offices and locations in 40 countries around the world. So the supply network, the chain is there. Everything does come into New York City. So when and we've gone to these warehouses in New York City, CJ, these warehouses are huge. 550,000 bags in each warehouse from coffee all over the world. And we went down there maybe about 2 months ago. We brought some people that we work with here in Utica down so that they could see it and they could be educated on where all this coffee comes from. It helps our employees better understand the networks that we're part of. But it's a commodity. We buy futures contracts, and our suppliers are worldwide conglomerates that hopefully it mitigates any supply chain disruptions.
Anybody else have other questions they want to ask?
At this point in the business, with everything we could possibly be focusing on day to day, how do you think about structuring your own day? And how do you, I guess, what is your...
Oh, you got to flick the switch.
What is your framework for deciding what to focus on and when?
John, every morning, 6 a.m., I'll sit down with my planner and I'll write down all that's on my mind, all that's on my agenda. I'll prioritize it. I will think of is it me that's responsible? Is it someone else that's responsible? I'll speak with that person during that day. We'll talk about what it means for them, for us. I'll try to work with others to get as much done as I possibly can. For the most part, strategic things I'll handle, and I like to be thinking about the future and what I need to be doing next. And next isn't always today. It's a year from now, or planning that out. We have a strategic plan that I work from, and we develop as a team. So each area of our business, we've got a person that's responsible. They'll identify what they've got to work on for that upcoming year. We'll all work together on doing that, but every day I plan, and what I don't get accomplished today, it'll be on the list for tomorrow until it pretty much gets done or it's taken off the list. Answer that question? Thank you.
You pass the mic, yeah.
So on a similar timeline, your business has grown wonderfully, right? And you said you started in 2002?
Correct.
I'm guessing it didn't happen overnight. I don't think even MySpace was available then to go viral. And maybe a few entrepreneurs now could go viral and suddenly have to scale quickly. But as someone new in business, what is the realistic timeline? Now you're planning a year in advance or quarterly. What's a realistic timeline for someone that's just starting out? At what point, obviously it's going to be financial, how much you bring in, but what's realistic? A month, a year, 3 years, 10 years?
I guess it depends. It depends on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Depends on a lot of things, and I'm not sure if you could really set a timeline to it. You just got to stay with it. Taking me back to when I started this, right? It was very frustrating. I thought, open up, you're going to be success. No, that is not the case. Was not the case, and most likely will not be the case of others who try to start a business. Keep at it. For years, I was only open up on a Saturday. Of course, I tried to open up during different times. But so how much time can you put into this? Right, as we said, this was plan B.
Yeah.
So I had a job during the week, and you keep on trying. You keep on trying, hey, how can I make this work? At the time, I was open on Saturdays, 10 till 2. We did a successful Saturday would have been $35. But the thing is, I was there, flag was open, we were giving it a try. Honestly, it wasn't necessarily only my work and determination that made this successful. I attribute other investment in the downtown area as also having a big role in this. And I think of when Taylor and the Cook came in next door. Chris Talgo was inside the Taylor and the Cook and fixing the ceiling, and I'm thinking, thank God somebody else is down here. And what that did truly, it changed the balance of scales, because at that point in time, nobody would come down here. But once Taylor and Cook opened up, it made this dangerous downtown community chic, and the people from Clinton and New Hartford actually started to come down here. I remember early on, I tried to hire somebody. She pulled up in front, and I'm watching her, and she didn't realize this, and she pulled away. And I called her up. I was like, hey, where are you? And she said, oh, I'm not coming down there. I'm like, okay. It didn't work out. But that's so, yeah, it can be our own hard work and determination, but it's also others that are also working hard and have a similar determination that can help too. I don't know if that answered the question, but expect to work a lot longer than you really think you're gonna, always.
I want to be conscious of everyone's time tonight. I'd like to wrap it up. Would you hang for a few minutes and answer additional
Sure.
questions if you
Absolutely.
want? But this was awesome. Thank you
thank
so much for being here. We'll do this again. And for those that are new in the room, if you're working on a business and think can help, like reach out, come grab me. I'd be happy to help you in any way that we can. If people want to speak to you, what is the best way to connect with you?
I would say probably. I got business cards. I can hand out business cards, but social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, probably the two good places.
Great.
Or in the shop downtown.
Yes,
I'm
come
here.
to the shop.
I'm not far away.
Yeah, thank you very, very much for taking the time to do this. You guys hang out, please. Like, there's plenty of coffee, there's plenty of treats, and thank you so much for being here tonight. We'll do this again. Rebecca, thank you guys so much for putting this together. And please hang, but come back, and we'll leave it there. Thanks, Frank.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for tuning in or listening wherever you're hearing this conversation. I appreciate your time. So I want to thank Frank again and Rising Tide Society of Utica for helping put this event together. We're going to do more of these. So keep an eye out if you are in the upstate New York area. We're going to be doing more live events, more fireside chats this fall. So thanks a lot for tuning in. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and you can check out old episodes of Rust Belt Startup at rustbeltstartup.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And sign up for the newsletter. I have a few cool things happening in the fall that I want to tell you guys about. So there will be some tips and tricks if you are a new entrepreneur, and I'll have some online courses that will be available that I'm launching as well. So very excited for that. Talk to you soon. See ya.